Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Three Bone Theater's YouTube channel. My name is Tiffany Bryant Jackson, the Education Manager. And here I have our Artistic and Operations Manager, as well as our Director of our upcoming show, What the End Will Be, Dr. James Webb. How are you both?
Hey.
Doing well. Thanks for having us, Tiffany.
Great. I'm so glad you're here. I have a lot of questions. I mainly want people to know why we brought the show to Charlotte, how it feels to be in the room. So I'm going to start with you, Robin. I think we've mentioned in previous videos, it's a process reading through plays to prep for the year and really trying to find plays that we think will work well in our realm. So
Mhm.
please tell us a little more about this show coming on the radar and what made us choose it.
Yeah, so we were, as you said, we read a bunch of scripts every year to determine the four we're going to do. And there's always that balance of like, what stories do we want to tell? What do we think might sell? Do we feel like these stories are relevant to the Charlotte community, right? And so I think when we read What the End Will Be, it's not a very well-known play. We're the second company in the country to produce it after its premiere at Roundabout in 2022, which is awesome. I'm so glad we're bringing it to Charlotte, and hopefully it'll continue to see more productions across the country. But I think, the group who read it, everyone just felt very connected to the story in a lot of different ways. So I think one of the most powerful things about the story that playwright Mansa Ra tells in this piece is the intersectionality, and that it is sort of universally relatable while still being really it's about a hyper specific community, right? And I know James will share a little bit about the broadness of that community. But I think, it's the story about three Black gay men in one generation. Um, and those demographics are very important to the story, and yet it's also a really universal story about family and navigating those relationships and navigating end of life and aging and caretaking and you know so I think everybody on our group just really loved the story, and we wanted to make sure we were bringing it to Charlotte, so that's why it's here and we're so excited to share it.
I love that. I was in the room and I remember us being like, no, this has to be in the season. It was one that everyone agreed on, which is rare in all of our meetings about all of our shows. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we are producing it. So James, I want to talk to you about your initial thoughts when you were approached to take on this show, when you read it and thought about how it was coming into this audience here in this city.
I'm very excited. I think that it's timely. I think it's a wonderfully well-written piece. You know, when August Wilson gave his address to the theater communication group, the ground on which I stand, he talked about Black theater has always existed, in America, since its conception in 1619. And so there was Black theater where um, uh, Black people who were enslaved would often have to take their performances to the big house and have to perform
Mhm.
for white audiences. And then there's the performances where Black people performed for themselves. And what I like about this play is that not only is the playwright Mansa Ra doing this wonderful thing of bringing in a large audience to take a look at what it means to be Black, male, and gay in America. And so the larger audience gets to come in and take a peek, but he's also doing this thing where he's talking specifically to Black, gay, male um, audience members about their own experiences and how they might also deal with things like internalized homophobia and
Mhm.
masculine toxicity. And so he's doing this double thing that's really wonderful to be in the rehearsal room and sort of grapple with and deal with. And I think it's also going to be wonderful that everybody in the audience is getting something and they may take it all a little bit differently. And so I'm excited about this piece simply because it does that. It's speaking to the larger, broader community, but it's also speaking specifically to its own unique audience of which this culture of this play is comprised of. It's very good.
Yes, I agree with you. I think, Robin, you quoted, I can't remember who you quoted about holding a mirror up, but also reflecting back. Do
I
you
don't
remember that
remember
quote?
where that came from. It's like my favorite thing to say. I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing me say it, but this show really does that. I think, what Tiffany's referring to is, this belief that when theater, the type of theater that we want to produce is successful, it is both a mirror and a portal, right? That it is holding up a mirror and showing that reflection. We know how important representation is. We know that there are stories that are marginalized and not told on stages nearly as frequently. So that representation and mirror part is so important. And then on the other side of that, you have the ability to transport people through theater and have them experience a life experience that they never will live through, right? And so having that dichotomy and being able to do both, I think, is so critical to the success of our work and what we're hoping to do by kind of transforming and creating change through it.
Thank you. James, you also mentioned something about the three generations, and I want to note the three generations handle their queerness in three very different ways. And it's interesting to watch how each one tackles the ideal of what that means to them while also having to be together as a family and tackle everything that's happening in their family units. Take us to audition times. How hard or easy was it for you to find this cast to come in and take on this challenge?
Well, I'd say we were really blessed in that regard. We had quite a number of community members, strong actors and actresses to come out and audition for this particular production. And honestly, yes, I was a little concerned. I didn't know that existed in Charlotte like that, but I'm so happy that it does. Um, we also, I would say, were fortunate enough where when I got to callbacks, I actually had two sets of cast that, and I could have went this way or I could have went that way. I mean, I eventually went one particular way because I had to make a choice. But there is talent that's out there, and that it also speaks to, thank God for Three Bone Theater for telling stories like these, because what showed up in the audition room says that there are people out there who are not only capable of being able to handle and to have the craft and the technique to take on these types of roles, but there's certainly an interest
Mhm.
in doing so. It wasn't where we had to get on the phone and go and call a bunch of people and beg, hey, come. No, people showed up. They got the audition call. They showed up and they came into the audition room ready to play. And I was really impressed by that and grateful for that. And our rehearsal process has been indicative of the caliber of talent and how they work and their interest and involvement and investment in the play. It's been really rewarding and a wonderful experience.
Thank you. And I'm going to speak to growth. I know, Robin, we know that we've had shows in the past where we needed a Black, queer, or gay man, and it was hard to cast previously. And so this is some growth in where we are in our reputation and some growth in what's coming to represent them on stage to be able to have auditions that show up and want to be represented in this story.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think like James said, like the talent that showed up for auditions was really remarkable and lovely, and the talent we have in this cast is stellar. I'm really excited for people to see this group of people, and I think that. We say this a lot, but like theater struggles in a lot of ways in Charlotte. And I just want to reiterate for anyone listening with $1 million, right? Like it is not a talent issue in Charlotte, it is an infrastructure issue. And the talent is here, the people are here. We've got to support that and figure out ways to keep those artists in Charlotte. So
Yes, yes, it is definitely something worth mentioning. If you have a million or two or three or four,
we know
we're
where
always,
you can give it.
we're always open to those donations. James, something that was really cool about this experience that not every cast gets to do is talk to the writer of the show. So please tell us about the evening where the cast and you all got to speak to the writer and how that influenced the cast or uplifted them in taking on this story.
Yeah, I'm an assistant professor of theater at Davidson College, and I was looking in my email, and I just saw Mansa Ra had emailed me. I guess he did a little Googling and saw that I was a teacher, and he found my email address. So what's exciting is that he reached out first. So he reached out saying that, hey, I'm available. I want to avail myself to you in whatever capacity that you want to do so. And I was like, yes, let's talk with the cast. And so very early in our process, when we were still doing what we in the theater world call table work, we brought Montserrat into the room into a Zoom call that eventually turned into like a Facebook Live, or not a Facebook Live,
A FaceTime
a
call.
FaceTime call because of technicalities. But it was wonderful. And what's so funny is like seemed like I couldn't get him off the phone. I was like, I got to go rehearse it. So he wanted to share. And it was from there that we learned that this was the second production that had been done since it was originally produced at the Roundabout Theater in New York City. And so that, I mean, that weight, that honor, all of that became really sort of like huge in the room. And we certainly, I mean, he has given us some wonderful words. He's given us an amazing story, and we want to honor that. And we're gonna bring him in again. You know, we're approaching today as our first day of tech rehearsal, and so I think it is a ripe time to reconnect with him again, to see, you know, what we've learned and what we've discovered, and maybe we have some more questions because the cast did have some wonderful questions for him to figure out where the origins of some of these stories and some of these characters came from. And from his words, you know, they came from a lot of truth and different people he knew or experiences that he had had in his life. And so that makes it even more so where we want to honor it. But he has been so amazing and wonderful, and we're appreciative of that.
Fantastic. Now, this is my go-to question for everyone. But before I ask, this is me straight to the camera. Hey, friends, the show opens next weekend. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, what are you waiting for? Please go on to threebonetheater.com and get your tickets now. Do not wait. Sometimes it seems like we have time, and then when you go finally hit the button, you're like, oh, wait, I can't get into this show because it's full. This is where I warn you every time. Don't wait until that happens. Don't wait. All right. So my final question, after I warned everybody, is Robin, you're familiar with this question. So I'm going to start with James first on this, and I'll come to you. What is one thing you want the audience to walk away from the theater with after they see this show?
Oh, one thing. That's tough.
I know.
Um, I just want us to remember that, you know, there's so much more that makes us alike than that separates us. And I do hope that audiences will come in, and although they're looking at a very specific culture of people, that they will still feel and see themselves in those characters. And I know that's such a cliche thing. A lot of people say that when they talk about a show. But I do hope that, you know, we'll see that the reason we're telling these stories is so we can understand each other on a different level. You know, that statistics can't always do that, data can't always do that. We need a good story that has dimension to it, that can help us to understand people who we don't necessarily sit next to at a restaurant, or that we don't pray together at a church, or we don't go to the same schools, you know, people who are not always within our circle. And I think that once we look into the world of people who are not necessarily a part of our immediate culture, we'll still see that there's so much more similar, you know, that we love the same, and we want the best for our children. We want to take care of our parents. We grieve, we suffer, we have pain, we have joy. We also have love and passion and all of those things. And so that's what I hope, that people will come in and see themselves displayed on that stage.
Thank you. That's really good. Robin.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think James kind of said it better than I ever could, but it really gets to the heart of what the whole season is about, which is just finding that humanity in each other and celebrating, the ties that bind, right? How are we connected to each other? And how are we then taking care of one another? Um, and showing up for one another. And I think just getting down to that basic of, you know it's us, right? Like this is
Mhm.
up to us and how we treat people and how we grow our own communities and our own relationships. And so I think just that humanity connection part, I think, is what I'm really excited for folks to take away. And also, I think James has done a lovely job of really wanting to, talk with the actors about the fact that no group is a monolith. Even if you
Mhm.
get really specific and kind of more, the more intersections of identity that you layer on, even under that umbrella, it's not a monolith, right? We're all human beings who certainly share culture, share community, share practices and ways of life, but we're, everyone is they're also their unique self and handles things in their own unique way. So I'm excited for that to really shine through in the story too.
Thank you. I'm going to add mine in. You guys talk to the larger audience. I'm going to talk to the individual audience. What I want people to take home as individuals that it's not too late to be your full authentic selves in a way that works best for you. I think
I
this show
love that,
also
Tiffany.
does a really good job of reminding us that whatever life you started with doesn't have to be the life you finish with if you don't want it to. If you love it from the start, more power to you. But if you've been waiting on a moment to be your full self, it's now and it's not too late, no matter what age you are.
I love that. And I will shout out Tiffany is doing a writing workshop before opening night, all about telling your authentic story. So if you want to explore that with her, she is remarkable at that and will help you write through it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, it's completely free for those listening today. On Friday the 2nd, you can come early, take in the workshop, and then you get discounted tickets to see the show that night. So, two incentives. I think I'm a pretty good facilitator, and you get a discount ticket to a fantastic show. So thank you both for taking some time out of your day to sit with me and talk through. I'm very excited for this show to premiere next week and for audiences to get in there and see the magic that you are creating in the theater, James.
I'm excited too. Come check
All
us
right.
All right.
out.